7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, a very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. My name is Edmond Chizito, your host on Spectrum. Tonight is corruption and the misuse of public funds that affected service delivery in Kampala back to haunt the capital. Are the political leaders in KCCA keen on accountability? One of the key reasons given by government and many other people to justify the takeover of the management of Kampala capital city was to eliminate grand corruption and abuse of office and public funds which had engulfed City Hall previously. The takeover was expected to bring about strict accountability, which would in turn ensure better service delivery in Kampala, on top of boosting revenue collection for future planning and implementation of critical projects. The public perception today suggests that instead of focusing on the needs of the people of Kampala, elected and appointed leaders at KCCA are living lavish lives, being paid hefty salaries. It is also believed that some officials are influencing the tendering and revenue collection processes to make off with millions of shillings. Some critical oversight committees, including the Contracts Committee, had not been put in place by the end of last year, and many people wonder who takes decisions on contract matters. In some parts of Kampala, residents have carried out demonstrations over poor roads, drainage and garbage collection. KCCA has now moved to work on a number of roads and also improve on the drainage and sewerage management. Today, the Lord Mayor of Kampala has written to all division mayors, asking them to account for the funds they received in the last financial year. Some of these division mayors have, however, scoffed at him, saying he too must account for the funds he has received. Now, considering these developments, we ask, has the culture of impunity which was common under the old KCCA returned to haunt the management of funds in Kampala? Also, what can the people of Kampala do to get the required accountability? How is the Lord Mayor planning to clean up misuse of public funds, considering his directives issued today? These and more questions will focus our debate on Spectrum tonight. Our guest is His Worship Erias Lukwago, the Lord Mayor of Kampala, Capital City Authority. You most welcome, Honorable Lukwago.
Thank you. Good evening, Edmond, and the listeners out there.
Well, Lord Mayor, what is this we hear about corruption at City Hall?
It's a long story, but the long and short of it is that we have not up to now put in place mechanisms to ensure accountable governance as required under the law, which is very, very unfortunate. Time and again, there's been excuses here and there that probably we're still in a transition, that this is a nascent institution, it has not taken shape, giving hope after hope and this and that. But I, for one, I ran out of patience some time back, and people did not appreciate, not all of them, but quite a big percentage of the people did not appreciate this, and they thought it was just bickering. But the fact is, you recall what I said, I think it was early last year, that all is not well, that the center can no longer hold, that what people thought was a dawn of a new era, probably it could have been an illusion. Why? Many people had hopes that probably the curtains were drawn on the past years that were associated with the defunct KCCA, rather KCC, and probably would have an efficient, robust institution in the name of KCCA. And that's why you've seen people touting the issue of rebranding, this and that, that we shed off that old image, when internally we have not realigned the mechanisms that guarantee or ensure accountable leadership. And this is the irony, the contradiction, actually the paradox we are having. On the face of it, when you go into the media, the perception given out across the board, but largely in the print media, that this is the institution is doing wonders. It's just magic, actually, in a space of 2 years, which unfortunately is not the true picture. And I was not about to deceive myself, let alone deceiving the people who elected me and the entire public who have trust in me. And that's why I stood firm, and I'm still very firm on this. But one thing I should put in context, which I thought was not properly brought out, in your newscast, I think, was the issue about the divisions. I didn't specifically say that the division mayors should account for the funds received. For heaven's sake, they didn't even receive funds. Actually, in a recap you have just made here, in the intro, you alluded to the same, that I've put them on strict, I've put them to account. No. For heaven's sake, they are not even accounting officers. The accounting officers are the town clerks. So what I did say, and I want to be on record on this, to my colleagues, the mayors out there, you don't need to go into arms against me. But the point I was making, and I still maintain this is the issue, you should demand for accountability rather than going into other things of where you do not even have the mandate. The majority, not all of them, some of the mayors actually have reneged on their obligation to demand for accountability. The primary role we are supposed to play is policy making. All of us political leaders, over 250 plus, myself, the mayors, the councillors, and everybody, the elected lot, we are over 250. Our primary obligation is policy making, but away from that is oversight. And we have said this time and again, on this show and elsewhere, that is our core obligation, policy making and oversight. There is no way you can play oversight role by simply praising the accounting officers. This is not to say that you should always be belligerent, no. But you cannot effectively deliver quality services unless you build accountable systems, or rather systems of accountability. So at the authority level and in the division, they are non-existent. Actually, I was reminding the division mayors, you are making budgets, but do you have a role to play as far as the law is concerned? And they know this. Let them not hide their heads in the sand and leave, you know, this proverbial ostrich. It hides its head in the sand and it leaves the huge behind, wide open for everybody to see. So the point here, they need, as a matter of fact, that the divisions do not have powers, because if you look at Section 35 of the Act, the authority is enjoined to work out mechanisms with the central government to develop some of the functions to the divisions. And in a number of meetings I've convened since I joined the KCCA, I've requested my colleagues, let's pass a resolution. We apportion, we divide the responsibilities and duties in accordance with the law. We say if it is a function of garbage collection or street, cleaning or greening of the city and so on, if these are the functions to be executed by the divisions, let's do that. Because actually they are categorized, they are put in two categories in the Act.
Yes.
That has not been done. There is also another provision, that is Section 53 subsection 5, which provides that all statutory grants from the central government shall first and foremost vest in the authority. And we at the authority shall work out a formula on how to disburse these, to pass on actually, these statutory grants to the local administrative units and the divisions. But the division, all along when I requested for this provision to be operationalized, the response I would get, they don't have accounting officers in the name of town clerks. So we cannot open up accounts at division level. The town clerks have been there for some time. Up to now, no sign, no indication that today, tomorrow, or the other day, funds will be remitted to the divisions. So they don't have funds, they don't have the functions to perform, neither do they have the necessary mechanisms to deal with issues of accountability.
All right.
So these are the challenges I was posing. But coming back, yes?
Well, I mean, let's look at the whole thing, and I would like us to borrow some familiar words. People would have said this was a fundamental change when the new system came in place. Would you say it was a mere change of guards? cosmetic, basically. And I'm trying to use familiar words. I don't like cliches a lot, but let's try to use familiar terminology.
Honestly speaking, there was goodwill on the part of everybody, almost everybody in Kampala. People sang in unison that time has come for us to drastically and decisively deal with the old system, to push away the old guards, and probably carry out an overhaul of the entire system. What we did not agree upon, partially, was the way the legislation was structured, but not fundamentally. At first there was the thinking that probably we disenfranchise the people. There was that notion in Parliament and elsewhere, even in Cabinet, that the people of Kampala should be disenfranchised, that they should, the Lord Mayor and the mayors and should not be directly elected by the people. That was abandoned along the way, thanks to everybody who came out resolutely to say no. Having handled that issue, what remained actually was to come up with a law that would not bring out the old outfit, but not necessarily departing from the ordinary systems which are known the world over. Because if you went to modern cities, the kind of system we have, it's almost it's the system elsewhere. You are supposed to have the technical wing, you are supposed to have the political leadership, you are supposed to have the staff and everybody working in one institution. Two, there must be systems of accountability. That one, there is no compromise, because there should be value for money in whatever you do. And actually, it's a basic principle that you cannot tax people, get their money, utilize it, or spend it, and you don't account. That's a basic principle of democratic governance. Now, what we experience today, some people think that by gravitating, by changing, by shifting from the old system, the old formation of KCC, and we established a new arrangement of KCCA, there should be no accountability. That is fundamentally wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. Yet the law is very clear. After I've said this institution would have performed to the expectation of the people if we had...
If there was accountability.
If there was accountability.
There's some details on that. Where is the accountability lacking? Where
it is lacking, partially, the people, with due respect to my colleagues, the councillors at the authority level, I don't want to pass an omnibus judgment against all of them, but a sizable number, they seem not to appreciate the role they are supposed to play, with due respect.
The councillors?
The councillors.
Why?
You see, policy making means you are the governors, the planners of the city.
Yes.
And many of them do not measure up to that challenge, with due respect.
Oh, really?
That's a fact.
They didn't stay longer.
It's very, very absurd, but it's a fact. They don't measure up to the challenge.
What should be the minimum qualification? Is it, what is it?
I think it's high time standards were set. I wouldn't wish to suggest, but going by what is happening today and what I've witnessed inside, oh my God.
The quality of councillors you have is
the quality is wanting.
What kind of people would you like to work with, for instance?
Oh my God, at least you can agree or disagree on matters of principle. It has happened. You've seen in the Parliament. They don't also agree. But you should be in position to appreciate the kind of job you sought for.
You think some of these people are not?
I'm telling you, with due respect, I must underline that.
Should they have the same level as legislators?
Not necessarily, but at least they must have attained a particular level.
Senior form.
I said that to be.
What's the standard right? Is it open? People can come in and begin to.
I just don't want to be specific on that.
Well, let's
make the point.
Let's do some lines. Let's get some clarity on that. What's the qualification right now? Enlighten us first.
No, it is open.
Open.
Yeah.
Any man can enter.
Whether you can write or not, whether you can write your name or not,
you can walk in and be a councillor at city council and plan for the city.
And plan for the city.
And is that what you got?
People, you know that huge challenge of planning for the city. Policy making. I don't know.
So you have the sophistication you require. The people you have, they are poor quality people.
I want people to engage me there on matters of principle. I want people to engage me on the serious issues of planning, on the serious issues of accountability. But if you told these people, for example, there must be a system of, say, public procurement must follow the law. They say now, oh my God, just elemental issues of procurement, and say, look, for me, I will not sit here. Contracts are awarded or tenders are given out, and my duty is not to give out the tenders, but one, to oversee what the contracts committee does. They are answerable to me. They are answerable to all of us, because that is the authority. They are answerable to us. Two, there must be a public accounts committee to handle all those issues. And one is not even appreciating the fact that actually you cannot play the role of monitoring, because you are supposed to monitor the developments in the city.
Yes.
How do you monitor when you do not have the contracts?
All right, but some people will say, and I would like us to leave this point very quickly. Some people would say it really is a question of politics. You have people elected because they like them, they see them, in the neighborhoods, and then they bring them without really. Maybe they should have only technical people there.
Not really, because technical people, so to speak, they are not also. Most of these people do not go through public that the jobs were advertised.
Yes.
Because the 10 directors, for example.
How did they come? They were appointed.
They were just appointed. The executive director was just appointed.
So the lesser evil is an election.
It's only probably the town clerks and these other members of staff
who are interviewed.
But the rest are not interviewed. They just come in like that.
Okay.
And in any case, there are elements of accountable governance. What I'm saying here, the technical people cannot have absolute powers. That would be the absurd, and that is the picture they want to create now, that they should have absolute powers. They make policies, they prepare budgets, they make the appropriations, they spend, and they don't account to anyone. That is extremely ridiculous. And this is where the elected leaders have to come in. You govern the city on behalf of the people. You get the aspirations and the will of the people, coach it into policy language, coach it into legal language, because we're supposed to make ordinances or bylaws. Pass them over to the technical team for enforcement, and thereafter you monitor what they do, and they account to us. We have to make a budget. For example, we have a budget for this financial year is 162. Last year it was 148
billion Uganda shillings.
148 billion Uganda shillings. Just ask my colleagues. I'm sorry, my colleagues, the councillors and the authority. I know they are good ones. I know they are graduates who are there. I know. But in my language, we have a saying,
so you have a few bad tomatoes.
Yes. But how to pick them out from the basket?
It's another matter.
It's another.
So let's talk about accountability. Do you have cases of corruption? People have stolen money.
Oh yes.
Give us examples. How does it happen?
First and foremost, I've mentioned the 58 billion, which was found on the accounts of the division urban councils. You had at the time we had just assumed office, and the way the press was so hype about this. Oh, KCCA has unearthed this. This
many accounts.
Blah blah blah. But you ask him, did you bother to find out with all those discoveries? It's like you are discovering oil or gold or whatever. Yes, these are monies which were stashed away somewhere.
Yes.
You've discovered them. 58 billion on 152 accounts. What happened?
That man tell us.
This is the crux of the matter. That's one aspect I'm telling you about. KPMG was called in by the Auditor General to carry out the audit. The figures I'm talking about are in the audit report.
Why did that?
KPMG.
One of the 4 biggest audit firms in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
What did they find?
They established, yes, indeed, there were 152 accounts and 58 billion in all the accounts of the 5 divisions. Who was on those accounts?
What happened to it?
This is The question I'm putting to the accounting officer, and somebody is saying you are bickering, you are doing this, and that's where I have a problem with some of the mayors of the division, urban councils. They seem relaxed, they seem not to be bothered about this. And I'm saying, why don't you demand for this accountability? Tomorrow somebody will put an accusation against you that you are in office. This money was discovered. What did you do about this?
So what is the money? Is it on private account? You say it's on the divisional urban councils. They will move garbage in their neighborhoods and fill potholes. What's wrong with that?
You account for it. If you are saying fixing potholes here and there, we have passed two budgets. Now we are in the budget cycle for the third financial year, ever since we assumed office. The question you are asking, tell me, have we ever budgeted for this money? I'm saying no. If we are talking about roads, the first financial year we budgeted for 45.5 billion. The whole of it came from the central coffers. The whole of it. This financial year is 46.2, rather 4.5. The whole of it is coming from the central government. No amount has been allocated from the local government corrections or the funds that were lying idle in these frozen accounts has ever been budgeted for any key activity. So tell me what happened to that. So away from that,
you're leaving us in suspense. You've not told us where you think this money is. You sit in City Hall. You should be able to fish out some facts.
This exactly. One time I was presiding over the authority meeting, and I put the executive director to explain. I put her to task.
Give us some theories.
Yes. At one point, I even had the facts from one of the accounts. That very day when we sat, 500 million had been drawn from one of the from a DFCU account in Kampala division.
Where did it go?
I asked her, and you see, she confirmed the money had been withdrawn, but there is no way in financial and accounting regulations you can withdraw cash of that magnitude unless it is interest or something. But to pay contractor, you pay in cash, and it was not even explained that they were paying contractor. So there is no satisfactory explanation.
But you didn't have a contracts committee before that.
Yes, and time and again we were told we are in a transition, but we are coming to the third financial year.
And the transition is still going on.
It's not about, I don't see the transition coming to an end.
Well, but you didn't have a contracts committee. The new minister for the presidency commanded that he ordered that the contracts committee be appointed.
No, that's not
48
true.
hours.
No, that's not true.
What happened?
There are different departments and bodies and statutory institutions, rather organs. What the minister talked about was the physical planning committee.
Physical planning committee.
And I had issues with that. Because under the law, we are supposed to have the Metropolitan Physical Planning Authority. And the minister has got powers to appoint 5, including the chairman. And myself, I should represent the current authority, KCCA, onto that body. Actually, it is an independent body. It's supposed to handle all planning issues, structure plans and whatnot. But the committee you are talking about, the contracts committee, it's a replica, rather it's something like the tender board, just to give out tenders, contracts. And the law requires that after quarter it publishes a report.
Yes.
These are all safety measures put in place to ensure or to guarantee accountable leadership.
Yes.
As we talk right now, there is not even a single report of the contracts committee. And the purpose was, we put them to scrutiny. We should know every after quarter how many contracts have you given out, to which particular service providers. Because for us, ours is monitoring. We keep on monitoring what they do. We follow them up. We get even the benchmarks, the bills of quantities and what, and we attach to all those documents so that we put them to task to deliver on time. Not only delivering on time, but even quality services. I'll give you an example. The channel was given to Spencon.
Yes.
They were given 18 months. And right now as we talk, they have not gone even halfway. They are doing shoulder work. Where they are supposed to put slates and concrete and whatnot, now they are putting small pavers which are being washed away. They are doing shoulder work, but the documentation is not given to us.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back. This is the Lord Mayor of Kampala City talking to us here at Spectrum. We'll be back, then you'll be able to call in and ask questions. So stay tuned.
Uganda Communications Commission is currently conducting nationwide mandatory SIM card registration. Register your SIM card in a few easy steps. Visit your telecom operator's customer care center or any other designated registration center and provide your phone number, a copy of a valid ID or any other valid ID with accompanying photographs such as a passport, driver's permit, voter's card, or a letter from your LC. Information on your physical address or residence will also be required. SIM card registration protects mobile phone users from incidences of fraud, incitement, terrorism, and hate messages, among others. Please note that SIM card registration is mandatory, and those who fail to register risk having their SIM cards deactivated. The registration deadline is 1st March 2013. All information shall remain confidential. Let's make communication safe. Register your SIM card today.
Discover the new invigorating taste of Red Vodka Lemon. Red Vodka Lemon. Reinvent the night. Not for sale to persons under 18.
To all our Western Union customers, do not become a victim of fraud. There are many ways fraudsters are using to target unsuspecting people. Do not proceed with your transaction if it's to a grandchild, friend, or family member for an emergency situation you have not personally confirmed. Someone you personally don't know or have met online could be a fraudster. Remember, the money transfer can be paid out to the receiver within a short time, and after the money is paid, you cannot obtain a refund from Western Union, even if the transfer was a result of fraud. Only use Western Union for sending money to friends and family. Western Union, moving money for better.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. His Worship Erias Lukwago, the late Mayor of Kampala. What he's talking about is corruption and misuse of public funds that affected service delivery in Kampala, returning to haunt the capital. Our political leaders in the authority keen on accountability. I'll guess this Honorable Lukwago. Honorable Lukwago, you going round in circles about corruption. What exactly is it? You spoke about the $500 million that was moved from the account. Maybe it was paid to a contractor. What's wrong with that? Tell us where money was stolen and used to build a house.
You see what you do, you account for it. You produce a report with all the supporting documents. And then, if we are satisfied that is okay, that's even what is happening in the park and in Parliament and so. Secondly, I personally, under the law, I'm required to appoint 5 certified public accountants to sit on the Public Accounts Committee.
Yes.
I executed that obligation over a year ago. I presented 5 names. They were approved by the authority, and there is a requirement under the same provision that the minister shall approve. They will not commence their work until they have been sanctioned or approved by the minister. To date, the minister is sitting on those names. So we do not have a Public Accounts Committee, which is supposed to dig deep into all this. Because you may say, okay, for you, you wait for the quarterly reports. I would say, okay, fine. But PACA should always be there to receive the Auditor General's reports, to receive this and that, and so on and so forth. These are all mechanisms put in place, rather intended to ensure that there is value for money. But if all those efforts are frustrated, we keep on passing budgets and budgets. That's where I'm saying I'm not ready to do that this financial year, because we have passed 2 budgets. Tell me. Maybe.
And you don't have accountability.
1, there is no accountability. But 2, even if we are to use the rudimentary methods of assessing our performance, tell me, you know, I hate this business which I always witness in the press. You just see flowers planted along the island here in the corridor.
Let's talk about service delivery. Some potholes filled.
Oh my God.
Some flowers planted on curbs, pavements.
You see, value for money is something fundamental, very fundamental. And for me, I always say I'll never settle for less than what I'm entitled to. And this is the hallmark of value, that principle of value for money.
Yes.
Our predecessors, we have said this before, I want to repeat myself again. Our predecessors used to get around 50 billion.
Yes.
But the first financial year of our office,
you got 146.
148 billion.
48.
Yes. In addition to the 58 billion
that you had recovered,
which we had recovered.
That's about 200 billion shillings.
About 200 billion. How many roads did you work on? Don't tell me Sastura Road. Those are KDP projects. Even Rubiji Channel is KDP project, and many of those roads. How many?
So where is this money going? We see some road.
So the point I'm making here. No, look. I want to emphasize this point.
Yes.
How many roads? I mean, I've told you 45 billion in the first financial year. Second financial year is 45.5 billion. There was also 17 billion for solid waste management. Can you imagine? I want again to repeat myself for emphasis sake. Ever since we assumed office, we have never bought a refugee or a garbage truck. We have never bought even a single ambulance. How many schools have we painted? Just painting. Buganda Road, Chitanda, and whatnot. How many have we painted?
So where is all this money going?
Judge the performance on just
flowers,
cosmetic changes. Because even our predecessors could do that. Do you want to convince me that all the flowers and the trees you see here have just been planted 2 years ago? Even the people we inherited had done some work. So the public came out and condemned them. I was one of them.
Let's draw the lines. So you think the old KCCA and the KCCA, there's no change, mere change of guards again?
Fundamental. Let me tell you this. If we were to go by the benchmarks we had set ourselves before, the targets rather.
Yes.
Right now would be constructing flyovers.
You think so?
I think.
With 40 billion shillings for all.
Because my term is 5 years.
Yes.
The executive director is just 3 years. She's about to finish it 2 years. She will be left to. Our contract is 3 years. So are we contracted by the people just to fix the potholes and plant flowers and gawe? But to turn around the city.
What blocks you from building flyovers?
Maybe I'm telling you, you cannot go to the next stage before you deal with the basics. We started with the, say for example, to deal with the floods, and we identified the black spots. We have Kampala Drainage Master Plan. We identified those black spots and said, let's work on, in the first financial year, 8, there were 15. Let's work on 8. And we allocated 5 billion towards that. 5 billion. Now, we have just started working. If you passed around Crested Towers, you see those people digging. That's one of the black spots. Out of 15. So if we go by that pace and say, okay, now they have started digging and putting culverts there. Oh my God. That was supposed to be done in 2011. We are now in 2013. And you want me to say, oh, thank you, now you are digging.
But you've seen some illegal structures being brought up. Petrol stations here, petrol stations there.
That is routine work. There is routine work. Forget about
even a cash room. There's a man was putting up a cash room not too far away from Crested Towers. He has the name of a car. He was putting up one there. It was brought down. Others in, drainage places were brought down.
Those are matters which are not within the budget. Those are day-to-day operations which are meant to enforce building regulations and so on and so forth.
It doesn't cost money.
It doesn't. Because we have our enforcement who are supposed to do that. We have the supervisors who are supposed to do that. For even sake, you would ask, where are you when those structures were being constructed?
Well, maybe they were not in charge.
Maybe they were not there. But the point is, those are not matters of budgetary issues. Those are issues of day-to-day. But we are talking about turning around the city in terms of infrastructure development.
Let's look at some other things. Some people think you're simply belligerent. You like to brew at storm in a teacup. You're always picking quarrels with this lady. One time we saw her riding on a horse, but you are not there. She launched a new image recently. You never showed up. You did come to flag as she rode on a horse, arriving with a sombrero hat, riding as if coming to save the capital. Why do you stay away when such things are happening? You're always fighting. You're just picking a quarrel with this lady.
Interesting. Where do I start from? You're talking about rebranding. The logo did not show up. I have reasons for
I didn't see you there.
whichever occasion I've shunned, I have my own reasons. And they are valid reasons.
Why did you stay away?
I hope I have enough time. One, on the issue of the logo, I've said this. I'm on record.
Yes.
The logo, which we found in a place, was rich in heritage. It was rich in the history of Kampala. It symbolized the image of our city. And there is a reason why it, actually the logo does not belong to KCC or KCCA. The logo belongs to Kampala, capital city.
The people in it.
Now, we do not sit in a single meeting. I called for a meeting where I said, please bring the proposal. If you have this and this, bring whatever proposal you have. I called for a meeting. It was shunned. The executive director and some councillors did not turn up. And I was supposed to present it. I was supposed to present my views and say, fine, change is part of life. I wouldn't wish also to remain, to keep my mind steeped in the past and so on, and say, as it were, it should continue being like the same and so on and so on.
World without end.
World without end. But I said, look, fine. Bring it on table, I make my case, you make yours. All the elected leaders, and we consult the stakeholders. For me, I wouldn't support the idea of doing away with the Impala, because that's what gives Kampala.
And I think there's some coffee beans and cotton balls and other things we can't understand. Some of us.
No, we needed first a presentation on the history of this logo. First.
Yes.
You explain why,
how it came in place.
How it came in place.
And how the times have changed. Have changed. In those days they didn't have blackberries. These days you have blackberries. So
I had a ridiculous argument. Somebody was saying, no, do we still have Impalas in Kampala? I said, oh my God. These are people who are at stay home. You can imagine somebody giving such
your friends
absolute hogwash, rubbish, with the due respect, that we no longer have Impalas. But why should we continue calling Kampala? Kampala
should change the name as well.
We should change the name as well, because the Impalas are no more. They are finished. Those are the ideas I wanted to hear. However, warped they may be, I said, please.
You wanted a debate.
I wanted a debate. Unfortunately, it never happened. So I couldn't just witness a function where people were just launching personal logos.
Personal logos?
Personal logos. It was not an institutional logo. It was personal. Because an institutional paraphernalia.
There's engagement.
There's engagement and resolution. That's how you adopted paraphernalia for a particular institution.
Symbols.
Symbols. Exactly.
You consult.
You consult. You do this and that. So, for heaven's sake, I could not be part of that. You talked about the carnival. I had no problem.
That woman came riding on a horse.
But
the executive director.
You were forgetting.
She wore a sombrero hat, wide-brimmed, and she had a whip, coming to save the capital.
There was no problem.
From road.
There was no problem with that. My quarrel, for me actually, I had no problem. Whatever arrangements were made and so on and so forth. My quarrel with these functions, say, for the change of the logo, they said 700 million was spent. For the change of the logo, just to go to Serena. For the carnival, we are yet to be told how much was spent.
Was it a bad thing, that carnival? 50 years, it's not, it doesn't happen every 2 days.
Sure. This
was it a bad thing? Tell us from your heart. Was it a bad thing?
I've told you, I wouldn't have any problem. But the moment we are saying it should be put in the budget, or we budget for it, I wouldn't have any problem. But how do I attend a function in the name of the authority, which has not even been debated in any meeting? We did not discuss it. We have not appropriated the funds for it. And then you just want me to go there?
Honorable Lukwago, let's try to look in the a little bit in the future. 15 years from today, we see there's a clash. It could be birth banks because you just got into this new dispensation. Politicians and technocrats coming together. You have different mindsets. Technocrats want results. Politicians want to see the emergence of other things and the process and so on. 15 years from today, what do you think KCCA is going to be like?
No, if we build the institution, I think 15 years probably would have turned around the city. Why I'm very optimistic, forget about the challenges we are facing. It's probably a reflection of what is happening elsewhere. Institutions crumbling down. It's not only affecting KCCA. Let's be realistic.
Where else is it happening?
Oh, if I made a statement here, they would close the station probably.
You talk about other countries.
No, I'm talking about
things are working well.
Oh my God! You see all the institutions functioning normally?
Oh yes.
Is it okay within Parliament, judiciary, these other institutions, DPP, police, and what not? Are they functioning normally?
They're all working.
Okay. That is your judgment, and I have no reason why I should fault it, but mine is different from yours, unfortunately.
You think there's a
But the point I was making here, as we grapple with the issue of building institutions, there are things which are moving on. One, this World Bank sponsored project of restructuring the city gets all the support we need. Probably it will give us a mileage.
All right.
Yeah, we are, because we have demanded that the minister should put in place the Metropolitan Physical Planning Authority.
Right.
We have already got the consultants from Israel, the consultants from South Africa. We are working on the new structure plan. And they have already made recommendation, a status report, and we are trying, they are giving their proposals.
Let's hear from the listeners right now. This is Spectrum Radio, and you can call in now. Our number 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-261-390. Spectrum, hello? Hello? Yes, Max.
I want the mayor to go away from the way Parliament works. Why are the technical people in the executive mismanage funds? We see the Parliament summoning these people, interrogating them, filing reports, and the courts of law and state prosecutors are beginning to send these people to Syria. Why don't we see the same picture in the council in the KCCA headed by the Lord Mayor? Councillors should follow up these people, file reports, investigate, and maybe the state prosecutors may take these people in the technical team of KCCA to be prosecuted where necessary to minimize good.
Spectrum, hello. Good evening. Your name?
I'm calling from the Kingdom. Thank you for the Lord Mayor. I want to agree with the 100% on the issue of accountability, but I want to when I tell you see in the press on the television, and we are doing right to go to that. The next thing is called abattoir, and putting up that the rat is zero. So when you are doing your counterparts, you make sure that you also practice what you.
Spectrum, hello.
Hello?
Yes, your name?
Hello?
You're live on Spectrum. Your name?
Yes, this is Samuel.
Samuel, yes.
How are you, sir?
Very well, thanks, Samuel.
Now, my complaint is, why doesn't you
Oh, Samuel, please call back. Don't hang up on us. Yes, your name?
Yeah, good evening.
Come again? Yes, Martin.
My question to the listener is, how is your working relationship with the current minister for Kampala as compared to the former minister, Honorable Minister of there, and Honorable Kampala? Have they been of any help to you in terms of security activity?
Spectrum, hello?
Hello?
Yes, your name? Yes, Mr. Missindi.
Now, I would like to support him on the issue of accountability. He really has an idea that has to be given to us. When Another issue, to me, the next question is to him. Who told Mr. Lukwago that a fundamental change can be obtained within 3 or 5 years? And then another one. Why does he think that all of the issues should be solved by debating? Should we just concentrate on debating issues and then people don't answer?
Spectrum, hello?
Hello?
Please switch off your radio and then talk to us. Your name?
Hello?
Please switch off your radio and then talk to us.
Hello?
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 Very well, thanks. Can you switch off your radio and then tell us your name and go on?
I'm called George.
Yes, George.
I want to agree with the Lord Mayor on the issue of accountability. Basically, when you look at the road to the Kampala authority, we only look at maybe 1 or 2 roads. There is this road coming from Itinda, coming to town. The way that road was worked on seems a lot to be desired. When you get to the whole, the state of our city is just full of potholes. We have appropriated funds to KCCA. Accountability is not sure. I'm seeing KCCA a looming OPM scandal taking place in KCCA. So let's talk about the issues that are there. Accountability needs a lot to be done in the KCCA. Thank you.
Spectrum, hello.
Hello?
Yes, your name?
Hello?
Hello, your name?
Yes, it's Johnson.
Yes, Johnson.
Now, since you talk about God loves the KCCA, why does it supply the complaints to the IGP? Since they have got the IGP can take on 10 people.
Spectrum, hello.
Hello, this is Algo from Lucia.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Please go on, I'll go.
Actually, my question is I want to find out Lord Mayor and the director, the executive director of KCCA, who has more power? Thank you.
Spectrum, hello, our last caller. Hello. All right, let's get straight. One final caller. Your name?
This is my name.
Dennis, yes?
Yes, I want to comment on some of the issues raised by the Lord Mayor.
Please do.
The Lord Mayor stated that the city authority executive has not bought even a single garbage truck. And I, as one of the city dwellers, would love to see a different trend from buying garbage truck to encouraging the private sector to contribute in the solid waste management. Because collection of solid waste in the city is very costly. And the people who generate them should be able to pay. Instead of borrowing,
All right.
people who vote him like me would be glad to see him saying, well, there's a change. The KDP is referring to how long has it been in place? What did they achieve before the coming of his lady?
Let's hear from the Lord Mayor right now. All right, thank you very much.
The other thing I want to allude to, let's learn to appreciate. Let's put our egos aside. Let's serve these people. I am ashamed to continue criticizing without providing an alternative.
Let's hear from the Lord Mayor right now.
Thank you. I'll pick it up from the last.
We have some other questions that came in via Facebook. We'll hear about those later.
I don't know whether I will have enough time, but
Try your best.
the last caller, I thank everybody, but the last caller seems to suggest that, you see, learn to appreciate. But I'm accountable to the people. You tell that to the people who elected me. For me, my obligation is to get the best services, to deliver quality services to the people using the mechanisms available. And mine, you pass a budget, you make a policies, and they are supposed to be implemented. You've heard the president time and again coming out to bash this, to say this, to do this and that. In this case, where I find the stumbling blocks, I have to come out to the people who elected me. We have had several meetings, over 15 meetings. We have passed 3 budgets. We have set priorities. We have put their timelines and so on and so forth. But if they are not complied with, he's talking about KDIP, and we have had KDIP, KM, and Matip, market.
We hear those.
Yes, but this, that where were they before? You also be appreciative. These are not our projects. We don't initiate them.
Okay.
Matip, it's about these markets, one-day markets.
And
I was in the parliament when we passed Matip,
Yes.
the funds from African Development Bank.
Okay.
I was in the parliament when Kidipo came.
Okay.
We implemented these programs.
Okay, our time is a bit short.
Oh my God.
Somebody has said, better from parliament, summon these people, ask them questions, take them to court,
Exactly.
prosecution.
Exactly.
Are you going to do that?
This is what I've been doing all along. I've been convening meetings, summoning the executive director to come and present accountability,
But she's
and the
busy.
directors, and she does not show
Bring
up.
in the IGG.
So what do you want me to do?
The
Bring in the
IGG.
IGG.
Yes.
We have taken the matter to parliament. And even when you go to parliament and say, look, come and intervene. Tell us.
You can bring in police. Yeah,
So
there's corruption.
again, somebody says, why have you gone to parliament? I heard some people were saying, why are you going to parliament?
Well, but if it's criminal, it's criminal.
File a complaint with
The
it.
previous ministers, do you compare them? How do you compare them?
We have had
What they are, mockers,
we have had a huge turnover of ministers, which is in a way also affecting us. Yes, we started with Abdeya, Kabakumba Masiko, Orori Mokasa, now Franka Tumwebas.
Yes.
As you get to talk to this,
Another
she is removed, another one shows up. So actually I've not even had time to sit down with the current minister.
You think he's also going soon?
I'm not so sure.
Because of precedents. Let's talk about something else. You know, who has more powers? I'll go in Luzira.
I think that's a tired debate. We're talking about one institution, KCCA, with different power centers. We have the authority composed of the Lord Mayor and the councillors. Our mandate is to make policies and play the oversight role. Of course, coming up with ordinances, doing this and that, monitoring, and so on and so forth. You have the executive director, who is like the PS, the permanent secretary of the institution, who is in charge of the funds, and she's not supposed to spend even a single coin
Without your powers.
without
your signature.
Yes, because I'm supposed to sign the budget. That's what the law says after we have appropriated the funds. And all the expenditure must be sanctioned by the authority presided over by the Lord Mayor. But I'm not saying that when she's signing the check, I should also be there. No. So if it comes to powers of signing checks,
She does that.
she has the powers.
But you give her
But I give the
general direction.
general direction, and I demand for accountability.
Francis
So I think that debate takes us nowhere.
Francis Mutaka on Facebook asked, what is the fate of the new taxi park? Somebody else, Edson Suga, also asked, can Honorable Lukwago account for monies apparently? Asman Basario, what did they receive and from what vote? I think he's asking about the
You see, even money spent on Lukwago, whether salary, whether buying motor vehicle, whatever, it must be accounted for by the accounting officer in the reports. As of now, I don't have even information, not even a single document, regarding the vehicle that was bought for me. You get it? And I'm saying, give even the receipt so that we know how much it cost. This is the entire institution we are talking about. Even the soda I take when I'm sitting in the council, I don't know how much it costs. Are you telling me I should not take the soda until I've received the receipt for the soda? No. I'm taking the soda as I preside over the meeting. But subsequently, you have to provide accountability. That's how systems work.
Where do they take the accounts though?
Come again?
In the end, where do they take the accounts? Because they must take them somewhere for approval.
That's a question I have no answer for, because I really don't know where they present their accountability. I've told you there is no park, which I appointed myself. Actually, the chairperson was supposed to be Honorable Oduman Okero.
Yes. From Terra Pharma, he's a consultant.
He's a consultant. He's the one I appointed as the chairperson. And they are
reputable man. He was minister, shadow minister for finance.
He's shadow minister for finance, and he's a very credible, a very reputable person. To date, and four others, Parker is not there. The authority cannot sit because every time I call it, there is a collusion between the technical and some councillors. They don't turn up. And they say, you do not have quorum. Somebody was saying, why debate? Yes, I'm accountable to the people.
These issues to my bosses. All right. The people we elected.
Thank you very much, leader. Because you've heard of the Lord Mayor,
Can you just give me a second to tell the public that on Saturday we have a public day in Kampala.
Not a carnival. What is it?
No, it's not a carnival. It's cleaning or kubogola. Cleaning general.
City Young, is that the one?
Not City Young, this is a different one altogether.
Where
We have invited all the political leaders in the country. We have even requested the minister if he can bring the president. So
the police aware?
I've written to the Inspector General of Police. So it's going to be a big debate on Saturday. Yes, we are commemorating.
Where is it made?
We are going to meet in Kisenyi. We have all the instruments to disilage the trenches, the channels, and what we have everything. Please come in big numbers. From there, we shall proceed to Chikubu, and we shall have a huge rally at the National State Settlement.
I'm sure we'll see television pictures. Some of us will stay very far. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your statement. Some of us will be